As one of the most famous names in sports entertainment likes to say, what do you want to talk about? Oh, wait, we're talking Brendan Sorsby. It's the Big 12 squad.
You're talking ball with the Big 12 squad. From Oklahoma State to Utah, from Kansas State to BYU, from Houston to Texas Tech, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big 12 weekend. Buckle up. It's the Big 12 squad, and we have a seat for you. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up. You're part of the Big 12 squad.
Into the Big 12 squad, everybody. Hope you're doing well on this Thursday evening. Of course, we are here talking all things Big 12 squad show. We got Parker Ainsworth from Locked On Cougs. I'm Jake Hatch by way of Locked On Cougars. Don't get the two confused, by the way. BYU, Houston. Next to him is
all the BYU folks should subscribe to Locked On Cougs too, just to be sure.
Good point. We got Mountaineer Paul from Locked On West Virginia with us. MP, what is up? We apparently have Big Papa Pump 2.7 with us today. That'd be Cody Stovall of Locked On Oklahoma State. And the man that we all wanted to talk to, Chris Level from Locked On Texas Tech. And late to the party as always, JT Wistersill of Locked On U. Let's hope everybody's doing well on this evening. If you guys subscribe to each one of our shows, as Jake likes to say, we get to keep our jobs. But let's fire off tonight and talk about Brendan Sorsby. Chris Level, defend yourself.
Hey, well done on the Cody Rhodes reference. I like that. That was good. I knew what you were doing. Yeah. What would you like for me to attempt to defend here? Look, the way my Monday morning started, and this obviously has been going on for.
New guy Nick showed up. Look at this.
Nick. Yes, Nick. That just another podcaster whose team is not going to play Texas Tech. I'm surrounded by I'm surrounded by non-opponents. Unfortunately, the list is growing.
Whoa.
Yeah, how rude, Chris.
Let me get off real quick. Hold on. I'm saying nobody's gonna. Everybody's threatening to boycott and everything. But yeah. So this has obviously been going on for 6 weeks. The hearing took place a week ago. We were told that the ruling would come within a week. We find out obviously fairly early Monday morning. The judge has ruled. I'll admittedly will tell you that I was a bit surprised. I also didn't feel like that if you felt like he was never going to play again or that he was absolutely going to play, I just didn't feel like that either stance you could feel comfortable with because I didn't know what was going to happen. And again, this wasn't a local Texas Tech judge. This was a judge from Fort Worth with a law degree from University of Houston and an undergraduate degree from UTA. So that is important to note. And he basically said 2-game suspension, which is what Sorsby's folks proposed. And now we're going through the appeals and all that, but the trial's not set for February. So here we are. And and everybody's angry and mad and not going to play Texas Tech in anything. So here we are.
Hey, don't say everybody, Chris. I'm pretty sure Oklahoma State's AD hasn't said a peep because we're not afraid of Tech. We're not afraid.
I say that in jest. I said it in jest. Everybody on this screen, if you were on Texas Tech schedule, you're absolutely going to play Texas Tech because you can't not. Otherwise, you don't get your big media rights check. That's just not the way it works. But there's a lot of grandstanding going on from some of these other leagues, from schools to this point that we're talking about it, that really haven't played Texas Tech in recent memory in anything anyway.
Chris, all of us on here think they made the wrong decision, obviously. But I am curious, do you think they made the wrong choice, or do you agree with what they did?
I'll tell you what I.
Oh, here we go.
No. I'm just going to be point blank. And you can be mad at Texas Tech, but people are not like the NCAA didn't. You tell me if this was right. Should the NCAA have argued that the integrity was jeopardized, which is what everybody's playing? Should they have argued that with his betting on his own sport or whatever? Should that have been a point that they brought up and argued? Yes or no?
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
Did they? Absolutely not. They actually agreed that the integrity was not jeopardized. Okay. We can roll our eyes at the addiction or the mental illness, or you can buy into it. Look, everybody's got stuff they deal with. whether that's real, whether that's not, whether it's the same substance abuse is the same as in a gambling addiction, whatever. NCAA didn't even dispute this. They didn't even get into like we disagree. They just said he broke the rules in the end, and like and so I just think they did a very poor job of trying to defend their stance. And so that's where I mean, blame who you want, but Texas Tech's getting the brunt of it. But I thought there would be. I thought there was a decent chance that he would get some eligibility back. I didn't understand. Was it a settlement? Could they meet halfway? Because I think Sorsby's people brought up the 2-game thing. And are you guys aware of the Indiana volleyball assistant in that case?
Yeah.
Which the NCAA set the precedent, 30% of your season. The cat bet 325 grand. And this was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Chris, previous to this, Hunter Deckers from Iowa State bet just over $2,700 and was banned entirely from the NCAA.
Well, but he never fought it.
I will say the difference with that was that all of the Iowa State players were under a criminal investigation as opposed to an NCAA investigation. So there is a wrinkle there.
Okay, fair.
And like there was, based on what the NCAA has said, there was no law broken. There was no, and I think in their own words, nobody else was harmed by his behavior, only his bank account essentially. So I thought there would be a happy medium though. I didn't think that there would be like a minimal suspension, but this is what I thought when Sorsby's people mentioned the 2 games, it was part of the negotiation, and it was based on Jeffrey Kessler's the precedent that the NCAA had set on the 10 games or the 30% of the volleyball coach's season, which was their precedent. So anyway, to each his own. I know there's people that they're pissed and mad and all that, and whether you're mad that Texas Tech's supporting the kid and all that stuff, I get it. I certainly understand the dynamic, but here we are.
I want to stress that, like, I actually think a lot of what Joey did in this is admirable. Supporting a kid, saying, "Hey, we're going to make sure he gets his education. We're going to make sure he gets the help he needs." Like, that is, for a kid that had addiction problems, that is, I think, admirable to go about it. I don't mean to say that any of that shouldn't have happened. I do question a lot of this, though. Like, the account he was betting from that was not technically in his name because he was not of age or whatever in the Indiana set also placed bets that were unders for first half unders and unders on passing yards. He's like, well, I didn't know anything about that one. And like, now we're trusting words versus words on when he did and didn't know about certain. And it's
everybody trusted John Mateer last summer, and nobody's even to bring that up.
To be fair, I also was saying, hey, this guy should get like I was on the record then too, right? Like I don't think I'm being inconsistent there. I think there are people that are, though. To be fair, right, Chris? I think you're right. That there are people that are. And like, to me, that all borders on this idea of like, this feels almost more like insider trading. It's close because he was not playing for Indiana. He was redshirted, right? But placing bets on unders on passing when you're in the game plan meeting feels pretty gross to say. Like whether or not he could actually impact it by throwing the ball is one thing. He knows what the game plan is, right? Like he knows we're going to run the ball, pound it, get out of there, or whatever. Like that seems to be more problematic, I think, than people are giving it credit for.
And so what I hear you saying is that Indiana should be feeling all the anger out there.
I was going to say the same thing, Chris. I don't see any anger directed at Cincinnati or Indiana over in.
There should be.
Yeah.
Why is Texas the only one catching the black eye here?
Well, I think the deal is more about like you can't retroactively punish him at Indiana, right? Like you can't go back and go back and punish 19-year-old Brendan Sorsby. You punish the present tense one, and admittedly, like, the team that would then suffer is Texas Tech. They're going to be their starting quarterback, right? Like that. That's the way that goes. I do think, though, that there are ways to both help a kid out with a real problem and also hold him accountable for his actions. And you brought up the volleyball thing, and I got to be honest, I didn't know about the volleyball thing till this case happened because that was very quickly the Tech response. I was thinking of the Iowa State problems and things like that, though, when this all broke out. I was like, oh, those guys got nicked. This will never work. And that's, I think, where my head was. Again, Iowa State was much closer to home for a Big 12 person like myself. Right? That, I think, was where my head was at the whole time.
Now, okay, Chris, you've brought up the fact that there's some grandstanding going on. We have Georgia, Nebraska, and other programs who have made it a point that they are either not going to schedule Texas Tech in any sports, or they're going to work on canceling any potential games. They may already be out there. Also, we need to discuss should and could Brett Yormark weigh in on this? Could he do something from the Big 12 side of things if the NCAA doesn't have any option to do that? We'll get into that as the Big 12 squad rolls on momentarily. Today's show brought to you by Indeed. Now, workplace chaos, everything going on around you, inbox overflowing, that one position you got to hire for, it's still sitting open. When the pressure is on, you need the right hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. They help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, whether it's skills, experience, or location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. You can go out there and target them. And here's the stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you here, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. And we need the right person to cut through the chaos. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show or any of our shows will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. It's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Thank you once again for making Locked On Big 12 your first listen of the day, or any of our shows, honestly. And if you guys would like to be a bigger part of our shows, join our Everydayer clubs, whether it's Locked On Cougs.supercast.com, Locked On Cyclones.supercast.com. If you want to check out more of what's going on with Texas Tech, you can go to Locked On. Is it Locked On Red Raiders level? Is that what we got for you guys down there in Lubbock?
Locked On Texas Tech, or Locked On Don't Play Texas Tech, depending on what your view of this.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Regardless, join the Everydayer Club and be a bigger part of any one of our shows. All right, Chris Level. There has been a lot of chatter out there that Big 12 ADs and the board of directors for the Big 12, the university presidents and chancellors, are expected to meet with Brett Yormark. And the topic du jour is, should the Big 12 and could the Big 12 act where the NCAA couldn't? Could they sanction Texas Tech, and could the other 15-member schools essentially say, hey, you got to do something about this situation? Where do we stand on that, everybody?
Well, you asked Level, so we'll let Level go.
Chris is talking a lot.
I think if first of all, it's the school presidents that Yormark works for. And I think that there's bylaws and there's all kinds of things written about what a league can do and can't do. And I think that it's in the fine print of this ruling. I'm not even sure that the Big 12 can. I don't understand the court system. I'm not trying to be a legal expert, but there's a lot of fine print that basically, like, this is the way it is, and nobody can touch this kid until after the season's over and all this stuff. So I don't know what the league would be allowed to do, but essentially, if you were to come in and say, hey, we're suspending him or whatever, I think it's at that point you're kicking Texas Tech out of the league. I mean, that's what you're talking about here. If it goes that far, I think you're basically that's essentially the card you're playing, is like, hey, you're no longer a member of this league. We don't deem you, whatever. And I'm not trying to go that far with it, but that's essentially what you're talking about here.
That'd be the nuclear option. You're right.
I don't mean I don't think that's happening. And I say it mostly because I read the injunction like Chris. So obviously, for folks that haven't paid attention, Houston is Texas Tech's third game. Like the idea of him playing 2 games versus no games is very, very much in the forefront of our minds. I don't think that Big 12 opponents can collect media revenue and opt out without Yormark making a ruling. I think it would take 15 presidents being really urgent to do this. And look, part of this is because of things that were uncovered as skeletons in the closet from years ago, with how many guys change hands so fast and how many guys jump on your roster. I don't fully think anyone would want to hand that power over to Yormark to just nix a single team out for a season. But frankly, because it would mean that you'd need to be pretty sure about your own cabinet, pretty sure about what's going on in your own house. And I just, in a truthful moment, I think very few people would say, let's just hand all that power for all our sports over to the commissioner. That seems like a lot. That being said, I kind of see where the non-conference opponents are saying this, like in a very different way that doesn't hit it, that we can't control it. No one in this room can. I think that I get what they're saying.
Okay, maybe, but the sanctimonious nature coming out of certain fan bases is absolutely wild, especially in the SEC, where you have to be arrested multiple times to play at some SEC schools, seemingly, or you don't get to see the field. Like there's SEC schools where you can beat people up in the middle of a club and you're going to get to keep playing and the university is going to have your back and the fans are going to have your back. But God forbid Texas Tech has a player that did some betting. Like that's the craziness to me is the SEC fans acting like Texas Tech is destroying college football and UT fans and OU fans and Georgia fans. Like you guys have 1,000 things to worry about in-house. So you probably shouldn't be worried about what Texas Tech has going. And I get schools. I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to play them.
And I get a personal kick out of the fact that a former Big 12 member in Nebraska is grandstanding here. Like that one makes me chuckle. It's like the Cornhuskers are like, oh, now they're in the Big 10. We're going to take a stand. Like, come on.
Man. And you played Nebraska in softball this year, which is not not noteworthy because both of those teams were in the College World Series and everything. That was in a tournament, but you haven't played Nebraska really in anything in a decade. You've played Georgia in women's tennis. I think that you played them in men's basketball about a decade ago as part of the Big 12 SEC Challenge. So I guess that's my point is like you weren't I will say it was brought up about the Big 10 in general not playing Texas Tech in anything. And I can say this now, but there's a lot of talk about Tech and USC that we're going to put together a 2-game series starting next year in football.
Was that the mysterious Power 5 opponent?
That's one of them. I think the other one is I think there's some discussion with Notre Dame as well, maybe down the line. But those are that's been reported on. Those are active talks and all those things. And Illinois is supposed to play in Lubbock in basketball this year. So, I mean, is that off the table? I don't know,
guys. If teams are going to start canceling games against other teams because they've done some nefarious activities, then nobody would ever schedule anybody anymore. Like this is
Georgia. Georgia's
I'm going to be honest.
8 guys
ever since
arrested
that
in the
break,
last
I
year.
haven't been able to hear anybody. So
what?
That actually happened.
Hear you, Nick.
That happened.
Okay, good. Let me make my point then. So I think that the problem is that the NCAA, it feels like everything's crumbled with this case because of what happened with Iowa and Iowa State. And if they're able to turn this around after what happened with Trinidad Chambliss, if you can just go and have this injunction on whatever, and you can beat the NCAA no matter what, I feel like teams are starting to be like, well, what are we supposed to do except not play them? Like it's not that it's the best option, but what else are they supposed to do? Because against all rules, like there is no way that Aaron Donald can come play for, Iowa State next season. There was no way. But then all of a sudden there's an injunction. And oh my gosh, they can overrule the NCAA. It defies all physics, but the court date is set after the season. So I guess we'll just have to let them play. Like that's the problem with this is that it just seems like there's a workaround for everything now. And this one really felt like it crossed over the line because of the concept of the integrity of the game. All the other ones, it's like, oh, I guess to play for a 7th year, whatever. This one, it's like, are we really playing the game or are we just farting around acting like it so we can make some extra dough?
I think it's easy to reach down below your belt line and fill down. If you got a couple stones down there, you should be playing Tech. If you don't, then don't worry about it. If you're Gene Taylor,
I think when you play Tech, you need to really look at what the under is.
Legs, then,
To me, this whole thing of teams not wanting to schedule Tech has been building for a while because people have not liked the power moves in terms of Tech building the powerhouse in football it's been for a little bit. So to me, they're just using this as an excuse to play it. But I also think it's fair, exactly what Nick is talking about, that this does feel like it's a step too far, what's happened, them allowing Tech to do this. And I don't think it's fair to penalize Tech for it as much because I think what a lot of people are more so frustrated with is the local court that this is not happening. And I'll also say this too, because I think we've talked about it somewhat, but I think it's fair to say today was a dark day in college athletics to me. The fact that you had a player who did gamble on his own teams even a couple years ago and got a slap on a wrist, basically. You got 2 games, and the fact that it's not even the third against the Houston team, to me just shows how much of this, it's just the lack of power that there is involved in trying to regulate the sport right now. And I do feel like things have to change for the better sooner than later.
It's 2 games they probably ought to win anyway, and so I think that's
He wouldn't have played at halftime at either one.
And I think that's the deal is that it really doesn't feel like 2 games he was going to be too horribly missed. And for what it's worth, I mean, I think Houston's now becoming America's team. I don't think anyone across the country is going to be rooting for Tech to win that game on the third game of the season. I will say, I think that JT brings up a good point, and part of the defensiveness out of Tech, I actually somewhat, as a Big 12 person, understand. It's like, hey, the truth is a lot of people are speaking because they really want an aristocracy, like just the blue bloods at the top and no changing. Mm-hmm. And they're using this as a reason to do it when they were against it a week ago too. They were there's absolutely that aspect of this. I don't think that changes that there was some questionable things that happened.
So that brings up a topic I want to dig into next. Is Texas Tech the villain we need them to be? We'll get into that next as the Big 12 squad rolls on. Today's show brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Now, the NBA Finals are ongoing over here, and when it comes to the NBA Finals, it's nothing like it. It feels like the energy every single night. You're not quite sure what's going to happen, but with FanDuel going on, the NBA Finals are absolutely awesome. Also, the biggest stage in world soccer is here, and with every match, it has the potential for a memorable moment. One goal completely change the energy of a game. We all know what's happening this summer here in the United States. That would make tournament soccer so exciting from the opening whistle to the final kick. Now, FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. Simple as that. More goals mean more bonus bets. All you got to do is turn on your token. So go to FanDuel.com to get started today. The best part about these tournaments, you can turn on a match between teams you don't normally follow, and suddenly one goal changes everything. The tension builds very quickly, so you're invested before you even realize it. So go right now and check it out. From the opening whistle to the final kick. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. That's FanDuel.com. You can play your game. Thank you once again for making Locked On Big 12. Any of these shows, your first listen today. Thank you for making Locked On Big 12. In fact, your first listen of the day. All right. So the question I have been pondering is that is Texas Tech now the villain and the villain that we need to elevate the Big 12 this season? Because they're programma non grata, to steal the Latin phrase. And Chris, I want you to start with this. Do you think this is actually going to help elevate the Big 12 because of what's going on here?
I mean, I can't speak to if this is what the league needs, but I feel like in some ways they already were the villain. I mean, right? I mean, or portrayed as such. In whether it's football or softball or whatever it is, I feel like you should just wear all black for every game and just embrace it. You know, not be the opposite of Cody Rhodes. To your point there, Jake.
Well, but I think the point is, like, when you have the program's already elevated itself, I think you're right. They've already kind of become the villain. But now when you have a guy like Brendan Sorsby, who in most people's eyes has beaten the system, as it were, that brings an extra, like, I guess, microscope that's going to be cast upon Texas Tech that actually in some ways could help the Big 12's overall persona, whatever you want, the fame it could garner this season because of what happened this week.
You mean like there's no publicity's bad publicity kind of thing?
Yeah. It's going to be like, and maybe it's like Cam Newton back in the day, whereas like I think everybody was rooting against Auburn.
Ooh.
And yeah, I don't know. That's the only thing I can come up with as far as like a player that, you know, that everybody kind of thought was pretty good, but didn't like what all had gone on. I don't know, but maybe. I mean, and Jake, you and I have talked about this. This league needs benchmarks. Yes. That's what they need. They need somebody or somebody's. And Brett Yormark asked for this repeatedly. Who is grabbing the brass ring? Somebody jump up and do it in football. And you need some benchmarks that everybody compares themselves to. It looked like Arizona State was going to be that. I think BYU has certainly become that. Texas Tech trying to maintain a standing there, but you know, whether they elevate the league or they're universally hated, we're kind of seeing that now. That remains to be seen.
Watch by God, Virginia.
Oh, go ahead.
It's interesting what happened. I just want to say really quick, and I missed the start of this, so I apologize if I'm repeating someone. If Tech had gone back-to-back before this happened, they would have become the villain of the Big 12. This whole thing has sped up that timeline. Tech is now the villain of the conference and to the rest of everyone else.
MP, go.
Can we talk about Omaha now a little bit?
Well, I was going to finish off with that. So, anybody got guess about Tech?
Well, I will say this about Tech. Why would anybody in the conference not want to play them? That's the one thing I don't understand. Like, the worst thing for Tech right now would be if they go 8-4 with Brendan Sorsby. That's a massive black eye in Lubbock. Like a massive. Like, I think this puts more pressure on Lubbock, even with the outside, external heat coming in, because now that Brendan Sorsby is going to be playing, if Will Hammond leads Tech to 9-10 wins, everyone's going to be like, disappointing, but understood. If Brendan Sorsby does anything other than go back to Arlington, this could backfire a little bit, in my personal opinion, on Tech. So for that reason, Big 12 fans, you should want Texas Tech at their very best every freaking week, because there's a good chance they're going to represent for the Big 12 again. And I don't know about y'all, but if Tech is going to rep us for the CFP again, I want them to have Brendan Sorsby, because I want them to win a flipping game, because that's what's best for the conference. Is this a terrible ruling for, all of college football? Probably. But I'm so sorry. I'm not going to cry over spilled milk. This is something that the SEC has gotten time and time again. Week after week after week, they get rulings and judgments and backdoor deals that the Big 12 never, ever got. So I'm just happy the Big 12's finally getting somebody with some SEC treatment, and it just so happens to be Tech.
All right, Mountaineer Paul, all hail our West Virginia overlords. Off to Omaha.
We're excited about Omaha this weekend. We got lucky, I think, in some ways with some of the draws. Obviously, Cal Poly not ready for the Mountaineers, and the Kentucky series was amazing. It was really good to see. Actually, sidebar, probably what we need more of in college sports. Side note is that Kentucky and West Virginia are right beside each other. That regionality played a really large part in why that series was so hot and so contested. And, because the Kentucky folks were able to travel just a couple hours up the road to Morgantown. It was packed, and it was awesome to see. And obviously, it was great to win that regional and then get to the Supers and win that. And now you've got Troy, who lost 30 games, but you toss those 30 games out. They're swinging some of the hottest bats that left in the entire tournament. And I think they're a team that West Virginia can lose to, especially in a one-game setting. You favor West Virginia in the game, obviously, with the elite pitching that West Virginia's had. You've got two guys hovering around that 2 ERA. You've got one guy that's right around 3. And so, you feel good about either of your 3 good pitchers that you throw out there. You've got what some people would say the best player left in the tournament in Gavin Kelly, a surefire top 10 pick next year. And the lineup's a swinging a hot bat. You're averaging over 10 runs a game during the entire regional and super regional. So you feel really good about the Mountaineers' chances. Beyond Troy, it's going to get interesting for sure. But we got to get by Troy first. I think West Virginia's got a great chance to do it. And I think the Mountaineers are going to really show up down there in Omaha.
You mentioned this regional rivalries thing, which takes me to Cody Campbell's documentation he pushed out last week. And speaking of which, did you see that in that Cody Campbell actually advocated against things like having athletes gamble, which kind of takes me back to the start of this, where I want to talk more about this gambling thing, Paul. I don't mean to make Omaha a little deal. Do we really – I don't mean to say that there are not like other things that are also immoral that guys have gotten away with. I think we could all name 5 like without looking any up. And yes. I don't mean this. I do think, though, that as something that actually does not like there's not a big leap from this to like actually impacting things on the football field. And especially again, like if we're supposed to just go by word of mouth and he didn't know just this really random odd account that also bet on unders for Indiana things. And like, I think there's too many close things here. And I think that the impacting of the on the field product has to, Cody, weigh a little differently here. I understand what you're saying about the SEC getting favoritism in a lot of different ways. And again, I think a lot of people are using this as a gotcha on Tech when they shouldn't be. I think all of that's fair. And also, this is not great. I don't think I'm crazy for that. Like,
no. I said earlier, like, this is terrible for college football. This is a horrendous precedent to be set nationally. But again, being a fan of the Big 12 since the early 90s, I have been waiting my whole life for the Big 12 to get some semblance of SEC favoritism, and this is the first time we're really kind of getting it. I don't like the reason we're getting it, but I'm just happy that a Big 12 school is actually getting something that SEC fans are absolutely used to and have come to expect. Yeah, I saw some UT fans earlier saying that if Arch Manning would have ever done this, get the flip out of here. If Brendan Sorsby was at Texas or LSU, none of this would have even gotten this far because people would have been paid off under the table and nobody would even know this would existed. Like,
I don't think so.
Bullshit.
No,
SEC
no,
fan.
they would. This doesn't matter for that. This would have gone bad no matter what.
I just think there's only a few scenarios that can play out. Congress gets involved. Conferences are going to take more power. The NCAA is going to settle. Yeah, I mean, the NCAA is going to win later, or he plays. Like, that's it.
I don't know if the
really all it
NCAA
comes
ever
down to.
NCAA may never win again, fellas.
Can I say one last thing, too? I think finds really interesting. I'd love to hear Chris' thoughts on this really quickly. There's also a chance we do all this just for Tech to get right back there and they lose to Oregon again, right? There's still a question, Chris, about how good Sorsby's actually going to be in this big of a spot, right?
He definitely makes them a much better football team. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, and there was pressure to get back to the Big 12 title game and further, regardless, right? But I do think, and I don't know where his head's at. I think that's a whole unknown. He's going to deal with a lot. He better have thick skin. I don't know what it does. Just where he's at, mentality.
And that is one place that might actually hurt his family a little bit. Now that I think about it. Just with them having to go through it with him.
Yeah. If his weakness was, and I think a very valid one, a diagnosable one, these ideas of anxiety and what goes on between your ears, I don't think this fall is going to help him. I understand there's something about clarity in playing football. I think every week is about
the noise is going to be extremely loud. Let's just put it that way. So it's something to pay attention to. Hey, MP, real quick, any chance West Virginia challenges for that Jello shot record?
I have no idea. I mean, there's a lot of hype around it. I think they're going to try.
I'm telling you, LSU.
I would be shocked. What does anybody know what it is? What the number is?
68,000 some odd. I think it's.
I love that Jake knows it. I love that.
I mean, I know that there's a large contingent of West Virginia fans that are going to travel a lot. I mean, I'll give you an example. When we went to North Carolina and played in the Charlotte against North Carolina, we traveled over 60,000 deep and filled that stadium totally up. And it was 90% West Virginia, 10% North Carolina in Charlotte. So I do think we can do it. It just depends. And there's a lot of way more hype around it than I was expecting from the interest level. So I do think there's a shot. Now, to say that we could beat LSU and their fan base and the way they travel, saying a lot, but I do think we can make a dent. For sure.
Okay. Bro, when it comes to taking shots, we need you to hold it because you're the only Big 12 rep in the daggone thing. Yep. And not that KU fans were going to help you drink a bunch anyways. They don't strike me as a party.
We needed BYU people, BYU fans to come on.
You don't need any BYU fans.
I didn't hear Jake ask you about how many people were going. It was about how many Jello shots being drank. We can fix that problem.
All right. You guys got to hold it down, WV. Yep. You got to hold it down.
We'll see how it all plays out this week. But as always, thank you to all of you for making this your first listen of the day. Make sure you make all of our shows your second listen of the day. In my case, Locked On Cougars. Next to me, it's Parker Ainsworth from Locked On Cougs, covering the Houston Cougars. Mountaineer Paul from Locked On West Virginia. JT Whistler from some show called Locked On Utes. Never heard of it. They got Big Papa Pump, a.k.a. Cody Stovall, Locked On Oklahoma State. And Chris Level, Locked On Texas Tech. Thank you to all of you for being here. And until next time, right here on the Dose Grande Squad.